Yo guys, Nate here from Method and welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today, we'll be exploring the changes and updates that have shaped each tank class from the introduction of new talents and spells to refinements in gameplay. Before we delve into the classes, I'd like to remind you that the rankings provided are specifically for Raid. We'd love to hear your opinion about your class and if you agree or disagree with the rankings. Please remember to keep the discussion civil and respectful in the comment section below. Now, let's explore the classes and their changes in the new patch before giving them a rank at the end of the video. Let's talk about what's up with Brewmaster Monk. The class is getting a few updates, the most notable of which is the new talent, Press the Advantage. This replaces Tiger Palm and adds a stacking damage buff to your auto attacks and abilities. When you reach 10 stacks, your next Rising Sun Kick or Keg Smash is going to hit again. The talent has a handful of added bonuses, some of which include elusive brawler stacks from your Rising Sun Kick or extra brew cooldown reduction with Keg Smash. So what do these changes mean for Brewmaster? In a nutshell, the introduction of this new talent, as well as some numerical buffs, will highly enhance the class's damage, making it a real powerhouse. In terms of strength post-patch, Brewmaster's damage will significantly increase. You'll also see a boost to brew cooldown reduction, leading to more frequent access to Celestial Brew, Purifying Brew and Fortifying Brew. But with that said, the complexity of Brewmaster may still pose a challenge for some new players, and its low health pool could catch you by surprise. In Dragonflight, the class remains a hard one to master. In Raids, Brewmaster shines, offering high damage output and solid self-sustain without being overly reliant on gear. Its performance in Mythic Plus scenarios, while not transformative, remains an okay pick. Compared to other tank classes, Brewmaster stands tall in Raids, thanks to its unique utility and high tank DPS. With the introduction of Press the Advantage in patch 10.1.5, you can expect some very minor shifts in the preferred talent builds and ability rotations. This talent could make a double one-handed playstyle more attractive and could even pave the way for new haste-based builds. If you're a Brewmaster Monk main, get ready for some changes with this patch. Your hotbars can be streamlined and you may find the new talent refreshing. It's important to play a class that you enjoy, and although a lot of people have been put off by the complexity of Brewmaster in the past, 10.1.5 continues to offer a challenging but rewarding class experience. Protection Paladins are in for a minor tweak in patch 10.1.5, mostly limited to a slight damage ability increase. The oddball change here is that the Word of Glory will now consume 10% of your base mana, which I assume is Blizzard's attempt to temper the off-healing abilities of Prot Paladin, abilities that have already been nerfed heavily. Despite these adjustments, Prot Paladins are expected to remain solid. Their role as the tank offering substantial group influence won't diminish, and they'll keep blasting damage, being tanky and carrying a heavy utility toolkit into the battlefield. A Paladin's utility has always been its mainstay across various content types. Their wealth of immunities, off-healing, crowd control, and other unique utilities continue to make them a force to be reckoned with. This, combined with their high damage output and arsenal of defensive cooldowns, highlights their might. Paladins, however, are not without their weaknesses. They can struggle with their tankiness outside of cooldowns, and their limited mobility means they don't get around too quickly. Still, they're shaping up to be formidable tanks in patch 10.1.5, and their contributions to Raid and Mythic Plus scenarios remain significant. Compared to other tanks, Paladins secure a top 3 spot in Raid in patch 10.1.5. Their unmatched group utility and the rework of Retribution Aura make them invaluable, regardless of how many Paladins are in the group. If you're a player who values the unique contributions a Paladin can bring to a group, sticking with the class could be your best bet. However, if you lean towards a more selfish playstyle and aren't overly concerned with power levels, trying out Death Knight could be an interesting shift. In the new patch, Guardian Druids are set to receive significant changes, primarily to their talent tree. We're seeing many talent buffs and improved accessibility to potent options alongside new node connections. A handful of talents are also receiving numerical buffs which will increase their power by a good margin. Most of the changes will bolster Guardian's strength in Mythic Plus, however, the impact on their raiding will still be noticeable and put them on the throne for the highest potential damage output. Post-patch, Guardian Druids will excel more in the aspects they were already good at. And although no new weaknesses have been introduced, it's worth noting that magic damage is still a sore spot for them, and although the changes are substantial, I don't believe it solves the core problems that make Guardian less desirable in a raid setting right now. On the flip side, their strength in Mythic Plus will be unmatched. When compared to other tanks, Guardian holds a solid position, more notably in Mythic Plus. However, their raid rankings are likely to remain somewhat static. They'll continue to be a choice that provides a really high damage output across both single target and AoE situations, making them an appealing option for many, but their core issues remain prevalent. These changes won't drastically alter the ability rotation or the preferred talent build necessarily, but they will allow more room for customization and make certain talents much more desirable depending on the scenario. For those who enjoy playing Mythic Plus, Guardian is set to be an unrivaled choice in patch 10.1.5. And for raid, you'll be outputting even more damage than before. Just be prepared to allocate a few more keybinds. In the up and coming patch, Demon Hunter is seeing minor damage increases. These changes are mostly aiming to counteract the damage loss from the Onyx Analyte nerf, but are particularly beneficial to Demon Hunter because they scale excellently with stats. With these changes, the strength of Demon Hunter remains consistent. As a top tier damage spec, they excel in both AoE and single target, with high fiery brand uptime, solid utility, high mobility, and extreme self-reliance. Demon Hunter offers a really strong tanking experience. However, Demon Hunter does have a weakness in terms of tankiness at the beginning of encounters. It can take time to generate and benefit from your arsenal of talents, and particularly in multi-target scenarios, spreading your fiery brand can be somewhat slow initially. Even with this minor drawback, Demon Hunter performs exceptionally well in raids, Mythic Plus, and PvP due to its powerful abilities and lack of significant weaknesses. Compared to other tanks, Demon Hunter currently stands out as a top contender for raids. Despite no changes in the new patch, their strength previously makes them hard to compete with. Boasting some of the highest tank DPS in both AoE and single target, impressive mitigation uptime, solid utility, and efficient mobility, this class has considerable impact in every type of content. Although it doesn't have the best raid utility, especially when Havoc is present, this is overshadowed by the overwhelmingly positive performance of the spec currently. In my opinion, Demon Hunter holds a top 3 position in raids. With regards to the talent build and ability rotations, not much will change for Demon Hunter. The usage of Soul Cleave will depend on whether or not you choose to talent into Soul Crush. For those of you who main Demon Hunter, pacing is crucial. Your tankiness ramps up over time, so a slower, more deliberate approach can be very beneficial, especially in Mythic Plus scenarios. I would definitely recommend sticking with or switching to Demon Hunter in the new patch. They are very enjoyable and a very powerful class to play. In the latest 10.1.5 patch, Blood DK is unfortunately among the classes that received no significant changes, except some minor percent damage increases. Given the playstyle and mechanics of Blood DK, these changes are not expected to dramatically shift their overall performance. The class's defining feature has always been the player's control over its own survivability, making it seemingly immortal or vulnerable to one-shots. A critical strength of Blood DK is most notably our Death Grip. It's extremely crucial in certain fights and has been almost the sole reason to be brought for progress multiple times. Blood DKs also scale well with gear, implying that as the expansion progresses, they become more formidable. However, they still suffer from low mobility, mediocre damage output at the moment, and significant performance drops during downtime. Blood DKs perform excellent in raids due to their tankiness and utility skills. Having complete agency over your own survivability is invaluable. However, their DPS is extremely low and often relegates them to specialized roles for specific encounters. In terms of their relative performance to the other tanks, their DPS output plays a significant role in their rankings. Even though Blood DK's unique Death Grip ability has secured them a place in raids, their low damage output and other weaknesses generally place them at a lower rank among the other tanks, just generally speaking. The patch doesn't significantly affect any specific abilities or talents for Blood DK, so rotationally Heart Strike spam remains a core part of the class's gameplay due to the tier set. If you're a Blood DK player who yearns for more influence over your group's health instead of just yours, Protection Paladin might be an exciting switch. Not only is it performing exceptionally well in the current patch, but it also offers opportunities to assist your team when you otherwise wouldn't be able to. In patch 10.1.5, Protection Warrior sees no significant alterations either, with only minor percent damage increases. The performance of the class is expected to remain robust, particularly in its capacity to block physical damage. Despite the lack of changes in this patch, Protection Warrior will maintain dominance in this area. The class's strengths continue to revolve around its blocking capability. Along with this, it retains a key piece of raid utility in the form of Rallying Cry. It also has impressive mobility, a raid buff, and powerful execute damage. The primary drawback for Protection Warriors in this patch remains their vulnerability to magic damage and bleeds. They tend to struggle considerably against these types of damage, and they are fairly prevalent in all forms of content at the moment. While they have more cooldowns available in Dragonflight than previously, this is still a significant issue for them. In terms of raiding, Protection Warrior remains a reasonable pick. They shine in some encounters such as Neltharion, but falter in encounters like Zaskarn where the magic damage is pretty heavy. The spec's low damage output and weakness to magic damage are just too notable as it stands. Alongside that, their DPS counterparts are performing comparatively better, which reduces their relevance even more. The appeal of this class in the wake of the patch hinges on whether players appreciate a hardy tank that can deliver good DPS in execute phase. While they do struggle more than others with magic damage, they are unrivaled in facing blockable physical damage, of which there is quite a significant amount in Dragonflight Season 2. With no notable changes for Protection Warrior in patch 10.1.5, and with other tank classes experiencing shifts in their rankings, it's to be expected that Warrior will drop in comparative standing. However, this does not indicate a loss in their actual strength. If you're not particularly attached to the class, you might want to consider trying one of the stronger tank specs in patch 10.1.5, which could include Guardian Druid, Vengeance Demon Hunter, or Prop Paladin. With all that said, we appreciate you joining us for our in-depth look at the tank classes in patch 10.1.5. But before we reveal our final rankings and conclusion, we'd love to hear your predictions in the comments below. Share your thoughts on how these changes will shape the tanking meta, and don't forget to include your own predictions for our rankings. Now, let's dive into the overall conclusion. And we'll start with Protection Warrior. Despite minor % damage increases, their output is still on the low end. Their struggle against magic damage and bleeds persist, rendering them less appealing compared to others. They are still a solid choice against physical damage, but their inability to evolve in the patch reduces their ranking, placing them in last spot for me, rank 6. Next up we have Blood Death Knight. Despite minor % damage increases, Blood Death Knight's performance is expected to remain on the lower end due to their relatively poor damage output. They offer a unique raid utility but suffer heavily from downtime. However, their crucial utility in the form of Death Grip keeps them from the bottom rank, putting them just above Protection Warrior for me at rank 5. Now let's talk about Guardian Druid. With the significant changes in the new patch, they are better than ever in the new season. They still have core weaknesses that prevent them from excelling in raid, which leaves their overall performance in comparison to the others less desirable. However, with their potential damage output being so high, along with changes to particular talents that aid them in their group presence, they are rising in the rankings, coming in at rank 4. Then we have Vengeance Demon Hunter. The already top tier damage output of Vengeance Demon Hunter gets enhanced with the minor % damage increase this patch. They're exceptionally powerful, providing high damage, solid utility in the form of a raid buff, and significant self-reliance. Due to their sustained excellence in raids, they secure top spot, rank 3. Protection Paladin coming in at rank 2. The class receives a boost this patch, with a notable % increase in damage, on top of their strong mitigation abilities, high group utility, and ability to heal themselves and others. They become an appealing choice. This keeps them at a high position in the ranking. Lastly, we have Brewmaster. The rollercoaster Brewmaster has been on in regards to changes, nerfs and buffs has been a wild ride, and although it might not be over yet, going into the new patch we are stronger than ever. With an increase in damage, more defensive options, and some quality of life talent tree shuffling, in my opinion Brewmaster remains rank 1. Please remember this ranking is based on the patch notes and my own opinions of 10.1.5, and that your own gameplay experience may be entirely different. At the end of the day, it's about what you enjoy the most. Thank you for joining us as we explored the tank classes in patch 10.1.5. I am Nate, and you can catch me live on my Twitch at twitch.tv/Imminate, where I share more insights and gameplay. And with that said, much love, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you next time.